Hi, this is Emily Leiphart of Art from the Heart, and in this video I'll be sharing some Lunchbox Notecards using Backyard Bugs and Crescent Tag Topper Dies from Sunny Studio Stamps. Backyard Bugs is an adorable stamp set perfect for spring cards and also for little boys. I immediately thought of Lunchbox Notecards, and I'm going to show you how to create them with the Crescent Tag Topper Dies. They're super easy and you'll be making a ton of them, just like I did after I figured out how to make them in a few easy steps. I wanted to focus on the process of the Lunchbox Notecards, so I won't be showing all the stamping and coloring of the images from the Backyard Bugs set. They are the cutest bugs you'll ever see, and it's easy to mix and match them to create scenes, which is why I stamped and die cut multiples. I've also prepared 2 samples ahead of time so you can see how cute they are. This first one features the sentiment, "What's buzzin'?" and has a bee heading towards the sunflower. There's also a little ladybug friend waiting for him. When you open it, there's a perfect spot for writing a little note and maybe even stamping another image or scene for the recipient to color. This next one features the sentiment "fluttering by to say hi," and it features 2 butterflies with trails. I love using stitched line stamps to add movement to the characters on my cards. You'll be able to get 3 of these Lunchbox note cards from a sheet of cardstock. The largest of the 3 Crescent Tag Topper dies is about 3 inches wide, so I'm going to place my cardstock horizontally in the paper trimmer at just under 3 inches to ensure that the die doesn't run short by even a fraction of a millimeter. I've already shown in a previous tag making tutorial that you can die cut the crescent first and then use your paper trimmer to cut the sides. You can also use that method for these Lunchbox note cards if you're not shy about wasting paper. I do find that method much easier, but it's a matter of personal preference. I'm just showing you another way to do it here, and then you can decide going forward which method works better for you. Next, you'll want to line up this 3" by 8.5" piece with your grid mat, or you can use a ruler. You'll want to place the die in the middle, and I use mainly the horizontal lines on the mat and eyeball the 2 ends of the die, making sure they're level with the lines on the mat. I hold it in place with removable tape and run it through my Big Shot. I don't need to run the entire length of the card through, so I just crank it far enough for the die to cut and then back out. Here's how the end of the Lunchbox note card will look. This is the tab that slides into the opening that we'll create next to close the note card. You all know this already, but when you die cut, there's a good side and a bad side. The front of the die is the good side and the back is the bad side. We're going to score the cardstock twice on the bad side because we want the good side of the tab to be showing on the outside of the note card. I'm going to score it 1/8 short of the 3" mark, so at 2 7/8. Then I'm going to fold that section over. This will help determine the spot of the next scored line. I'm going to place the note card back on the scoreboard, but it's not flush against the left edge. I place my score tool next to the edge of the card and slightly shift the note card along the top edge to find a groove. Don't worry about the measurements here. Just leave a millimeter between the end of the note card and your score tool, so that when you make the next fold, it doesn't interfere with the end of the note card. If you score it right where the note card ends, it will buckle and the note card won't sit flat. The Crescent Tag Topper dies come in 3 sizes, and to create the slot for the tab, we're using the middle of the 3 sizes. Again, we're going to line up the folded note card with the lines on the grid mat, and place the die in the opposite direction from the initial cut, which you see front and center. In order to create a slot big enough for that tab to fit through, the bottom edges of this die must end up past the curve of the cut from that largest crescent die. At this point, you can eyeball it and tape your die in place, or you can use a ruler to guide you. If you're more comfortable, you can also take a pencil and draw temporary marks for the end of the die. Now I can run it through my Big Shot in the same way I made the initial die cut. I just have to make sure that I open the note card all the way so I don't cut through the back of the note card. Once that cut is made, you can see how nicely the top tab fits into the slot. My cardstock is 100-pound weight, so I have to be very careful about not creating creases when opening and closing the note card, but if you use 80-pound cardstock, you won't have to worry too much about this. I just have to show you the cutest thing about the dies in the Backyard Bugs set. Look at the little hole between the snail's eyes. I love tiny details like that, and it really takes a die from good to great. I also think it makes the snail cuter than it would be if it was just stamped on a 1-layer card, or even if the die didn't have that little hole there. I spend a few minutes trying to set up the micro scenes on these cards, and I've fast-forwarded through the arrangement phase to the stamping phase. I want to use 2 different sentiments from the stamp set so I can get as much out of the stamp set as possible. The individual sentiments are all unique to each of the bugs, so my scenes have to work with the sentiments. The first one says, "A little snail mail," so it has to feature the snail, and the second one says, "Thanks a bazillion," so it has to feature the bee. The snail sentiment is too long for the space available, so I'm going to stamp it on 2 lines. First, I mask off the word mail and stamp a little snail. After inking up the stamp, I must remember to remove the washi tape so I don't get a big blob of ink on my note card. Then I clean the stamp and mask off a little snail and stamp the word mail right underneath. Earlier I had mentioned that I love this stitched line, so I'm going to stamp the squiggly one to create a trail for the snail. Now I can adhere all of the images onto the note card. Much like the 2 note cards I already prepared off screen, I have to be careful how and where I apply the adhesives so they don't permanently seal the note card shut. In thinking about product placement, I also have to think about usability. I have to know if each image will sit on the bottom part of the flap or the top part of the flap. I'm using a combination of the medium and mini glue dots. In this case, the flower itself doesn't have any adhesive since it would stick to the top tab and prevent the note card from opening and closing. Now for the last note card. I line up the 2 sentiment stamps, ink them up, and stamp them together. This final scene was probably the easiest of the 4 to arrange. I love this cute little posse of bugs. Looking at the final cards, I realized that the bazillion card needs the stitched trail. This is the only one of the 4 cards missing that stitched detail, so I have to add it. Whereas I used the squiggly version for the snail, I'm using the loopy version for the bee. Now my note cards are done. Here's a quick review of them all. What's Buzzin' has a suspended flower. Fluttering by to say hi has a popped-up butterfly so the flap can fit underneath it. Snail Mail has a split flower in which the top part of it is adhered to the top flap, and the pod itself is adhered to the bottom flap. Bazillion is the most straightforward version. Now that I've made these, I want to make a few more sets to give away. I think my non-crafty friends would love to have these for their kids' lunchboxes too. Please refer to the supply links below if you're interested in any of the products I used in this video. You can also visit my blog for stills and more information about these note cards. Thanks so much for watching!